Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. Uttaram Yat Samudrasya Himadreschaiva Dakshinam Varsham Tad Bharatam Nama Bharati Yatra Santatihi. Welcome to all for the session on Skanda Purana, the chapter 12 under the Kedar Khanda in Maheshwara Khanda of Skanda Purana. In the previous chapters, we have seen that there was an alliance established between Suras and Asuras, and together they decided to churn the milk ocean in order to extract back the gems which are lost in that ocean. And then Mahavishnu helped them to get the Mandaragiri as the churning rod and Vasuki as the churning rope. Both Suras and Asuras started churning the Milky Ocean. In the beginning, since they have forgotten to worship Gajanana and they also had forgotten Shiva, for that reason, Halahala or Kalakuta poison was generated, which burned the entire Brahmanda. But then Mahesha took the shape of the Linga and restored the whole world back to its state. And then they worshipped Gajanana duly and continued to churn the milky ocean. And with that, several gems have appeared back. And at the end, Mahalakshmi raised from the milky ocean and she garlanded Narayana, and Lakshmi Narayana joined together as the divine couple. And then later they continued to churn the Milky Ocean. Lomasha the Suta continued the story. After bowing down to Janardana, the Supreme Being, along with Rama, the groups of Suras and Asuras once again churned the ocean for the sake of nectar. From the ocean that was being churned came out a youthful person of very great fame known as Dhanvantari. He was the great conqueror of Mrityu, the death. He held in his hands a pot filled with nectar, while all the suras were gladly looking at the fascinating Lord Dhanvantari. Daithyas wanted to attack him and snatch away the pot of nectar that had been held in the hands of Dhanvantari. The excellent physician, surrounded by a series of waves, was advancing slowly when he was seen by Vrishaparva or the Bali Danava. The pot that was in his hand was forcibly taken by Vrishaparva. Thereupon Asuras roared in a terrific manner, seizing and taking the pot filled with nectar. The impatient Daityas then went down to Patala. Then Devas became confused and embarrassed. They means the Devas, who were well prepared and ready for a battle, pursued them with a desire to fight. Turning towards the Devas, the Bali Danava spoke thus. The Bali said, O Devas, we are contented and gratified with the nectar only, because all other gems which were generated, they were either set aside or taken by the Devas, whereas the Daityas were interested only in that nectar. You excellent Suras, do go back quickly. Please go back to your Trivistapa, means the heaven, joyously. Of what avail are we to you? Now we don't need to have a relation between us. Formerly, we entered into a friendly alliance with you only because we wanted to realize our common objectives. Now it has been known to you. Do not have any doubt in it hereafter. Thus rebuked and repulsed by Bali, those excellent suras went back to Lord Narayana along the path by which they had come. On meeting him, all the suras whose desires were frustrated were consoled by Vishnu with various kinds of words capable of pacifying them. In this matter, do not be afraid unnecessarily. I shall bring back the nectar, said Lord Vishnu, refuge of those who are helpless. The slayer of Madhu, mean Vishnu, having asked all the Suras to stay there itself, assumed the form of a charming lady Mohini and appeared before Daityas. By that time, Daityas had become highly excited and agitated. They spoke to one another about this. For the sake of nectar, all the Daityas began arguing with one another. While this was going on, fortunately, they saw a woman fascinating the minds of all living beings who had assumed the form of Mohini. They were struck with wonder, and with covetous eyes they startled at her. Honoring her, Bali, the king of Daityas, said, "O highly fortunate lady, this nectar should be properly distributed by you so that it can reach all. Be quick about it. Do as I request." On being requested thus, she smilingly said to Bali, "Woman should never be trusted by a wise man. The following are the inherent natural defects of women: falsehood, daring, deception, foolishness, excessive greed, uncleanliness, and ruthlessness, lack of genuine affection, as well as mischievous cunningness should also be known as existing in them. In fact, these defects should undoubtedly be known as existing even in one's own wives. Just as wolves among the beasts of prey, crows among birds, and foxes among wild animals are given to killing, so also women among human beings should always be understood by the wise as exceedingly mischievous and cunning. How can there be friendship and alliance between me and you at all? Should this not be considered? Who are you and who am I? Because we do not know each other. I just arrived now. How can you trust me? Said Mohini. So hence everything should be done by you after careful consideration with your keen intellect. Of course, you are very efficient in knowing what should be done and what should not be done, O excellent Asuras. Bali replied back to Mohini, "Women mentioned by you are the uncivilized ones in the rural area. They have no culture and they are the favorites of the vulgar and rustic people. But, oh splendid lady, you are not one among those women mentioned by you. Why do you talk much? Do according to our direction." After Bali had spoken, Mohini said this, "O Lord, I shall follow your instructions whether they are good or bad." Bali said, "Today distribute the nectar among all in a befitting manner. We shall take what is given by you. It is true, I am speaking the truth." On being told thus, Goddess Mohini, who was auspicious in every aspect, spoke to all the asuras desirous of following the conventional propriety. The Lord in the form of Mohini said, by a stroke of good luck, all of you have become blessed and achieved your desired objective, O excellent Asuras. Do observe a fast today and let the preliminary consecratory rite of the nectar be performed. Something is yet to be observed with a desire for your welfare. Tomorrow you can have the Purana, means a ceremonial breakfast post that fasting. Your desire for observances and worships is commendable. For the sake of propitiating Isha, the Vinyoga means the ceremonious disposal rites should be performed by an intelligent devotee with a tenth part of the amount legally and justifiably earned by him. Saying so be it, they all honored whatever was said by Devamaya, valued and not being very proficient and experienced, they did everything as advised by Devamaya. Very big, fascinating, lustrous, and rich mansions were built by the Asura Maya. Maya is a person like the Vishwakarma. He is a greatest architect among the Daityas. So he built wonderful, lustrous, rich mansions for the Asuras for the celebration. They sat in those abodes after taking bath and adorning themselves befittingly. Excited much, they placed a full pot of nectar in front of themselves. With very great joy, all of them kept vigil during the night. At dawn, they engaged themselves in taking early morning ablutions. After finishing all necessary daily routine duties, Asuras, the chief of whom was Bali, sat in rows in due order. They were eager to drink the nectar. The following were the important ones among the Daityas: Bali, Vrishaparvan, Namuchi, Shanka, Sudamshtra, Sim, Samhladi, Kalanemi, Vibhishana, Vatapi, Ilvala, Kumbha, Nikumbha, Prahlada, Sunda, Upasunda, Nishumba, Kumbha, Mahisha, Mahishaksha, the valorous Bidalaksha, the mighty Aram Titsura, Jambhana, Vrishasura, Vibhahu, Bahuka, Gora, Goradarshana, Rahu, and Ketu, these and many other Daityas, Dhanavas, and Rakshasas sat there in due order. There were rows and rows of those Daityas numbering crores and crores. Now, O Brahmanas, listen to what happened thereafter, and what great things were done by that goddess in the matter of regarding the distribution of nectar. All were performed by her immediately to be ready. She took up a part that Vishwamohini was endowed with the greatest splendor. The goddess appeared splendid with a pot resting in her hands. The goddess, conducive to the auspiciousness of all auspicious things in the universe, shone with the greatest luster. At the very same instant, all the Suras who had halos around them came to the place where those excellent Asuras were present. On seeing them, Mohini, the most excellent one among young women, said immediately, the place where Asuras were preparing themselves with all the required procedure to drink the nectar, performed the fasting, they did the Purana, and they got the morning ablutions, and they were ready to receive the nectar. And at the same time, the Suras also arrived there on the spot. And Mohini said, these people should be known as guests. They are conducive to the accomplishment of everything virtuous. If you keep the promise given to me, something should be given to these in accordance with your capacity. You are the authority in this regard. Do everything now. Do not delay. Those who render help to others in accordance with their capacity are blessed ones. They should be known to be very pure and protectors of the world. So she is tripping up the Danavas, saying that the nectar need to be shared even with the Devas because they arrived here as the guest, and guests should be always served first before the host. Now here Daityas are the hosts, whereas the Devas Asuras are the Devatas are the guests who appeared there in Patala. Those who endeavor only for filling in their belly should be known as destined to suffer, because if they drink all the nectar themselves without giving it to their guest, they are destined to suffer. There is no doubt about this. Hence, O friends of auspicious rites, this should be divided by me. You give Devas whatever you like or dislike. When these words were spoken by the goddess, the energetic and alert Asuras did so. The Asuras invited all Devas, including Vasava the Indra. All of them said, O Brahmanas, for the sake of receiving the nectar. While they were occupying their seats, Mohini, who was conversant with all holy rites and virtuous acts, smilingly said to the Asuras these great words. Mohini said, the Vedic text prescribes that the guests should be honored at the very outset. Hence, you who are all devoted to the gods and the Vedas, speak out immediately. So, whom shall I give the nectar at the very outset? Indeed, let those whose leader is Bali, let those person of exalted fortune say. So, this way, she is boosting the ego of Bali by saying that he is the strong follower of Dharma and the Veda, which says that first the guests need to be served. When the goddess was told by Bali, do what appeals to your mind, O lady of beautiful face, you are our mistress. There is no doubt about it. On being honored thus by the Bali of pure soul, the goddess hurriedly took up the pot for the purpose of serving. A silk cloth shone over her thighs, resembling the trunk of a royal elephant. She walked rather slowly on account of the huge buttocks. Her limbs were agitated and excited due to the inebriation. With a tinkling of the golden anklet, she appeared to be cooing like a cuckoo. Her breasts resembled pitchers. With the pot of nectar in her hand, she entered the place where they were seated. Then the goddess Mohini proceeded, serving the group of devas directly. She showered on devas the juice of nectar again and again, as though their sole diet consisted of only this nectar. The groups of devas, the chief among whom was Devendra, the groups of Gandharvas, Yakshas, and celestial damsels, along with guardians of the quarters, swallowed the nectar again and again, the juice of nectar served by that great goddess of cosmic form. All Daityas, the chief among whom was Bali, co-leading Brahmanas, continued to be seated there. They were anxious and afflicted with hunger. The resolute Daityas kept quiet and were engaged in meditation. On seeing those Daityas in such a plight after resorting to a delusion, the two leading Daityas, Rahu and Ketu, assumed the form of Devas and hurriedly sat in the row of Devas for receiving the nectar. The exceedingly invincible Rahu was desirous of drinking the nectar. When this was reported to Vishnu, who is in the form of Mohini, of unmeasured splendor by the sun and the moon, the head of Rahu of deformed body was cut off. The head went up into the sky, the headless body dropped down on the earth. Rolling down, it crushed many mountains into smaller particles. The entire world, including the mountains, was reduced to fine dust. On seeing that the entire universe, consisting of mobile and immobile beings, was smashed to fragments by her through that body of Rahu, Mahadeva stood above that body. The abode of all devas was at the sole of her feet. The affliction was near her, hence the name Nivasa, or the abode. Since her lotus like feet had been the abode alaya of great ones, Mahatmas, the enchantress of the three worlds became reputed as Mahalaya. Ketu vanished into the sky in the form of smoke. It was after handing over the nectar to the moon that he vanished thus. Vasudeva is the origin of the universe. He is the supreme cause of all the worlds. It was due to Vishnu's grace that everything took place, favoring the realization of Deva's objectives. Since the fate was adverse, the enterprise of Mohini was conducive to the destruction of Asuras. Understand that all exertions without favorable fate are useless. That means anything that is being done without the help of the Daiva, because in the beginning itself the Daityas refused to worship Ganesha, and then on they went on disrespecting all other gods. So, because of that reason, they had an unfavorable situation of losing the nectar. The churning of the ocean was conducted by all of them simultaneously, but it ended in the success of Devas, while Asuras failed in their objective. Therefore, they were furious at excellent Devas. Daityas who were deluded took up many weapons and missiles. When Vishnu went away, they began to roar. Thus ended chapter 12 of the Kedar Khanda under Maheshwara Khanda in Skanda Purana. Thus, in this part of the story, in the beginning, Lord Dhanvantari appeared with a pot of nectar, and on seeing Dhanvantari, immediately Vrishaparva rushed to him and snatched away the pot of nectar, and all the Danavas went down to Patala. And then all the Suras were frustrated. They went to Narayana for the help. Narayana took the shape of Mohini, the most beautiful woman in the world, and she went down to Patala, seducing the Daityas. Daityas, on seeing her, handed over the pot of nectar to her and requested her to distribute it among all of them equally. And at that time, Vishnu, in the form of Mohini, conned the Daityas, and Suras also arrived at the place. Mohini started telling them as the guest, and according to the Vedas and scriptures, the guest should be served first. So, with that account, Mohini served the nectar to all the Devas, and at end, when Rahu and Ketu tried to join the band of Devas to receive the nectar, Vishnu used his discus in order to kill Rahu. His head was cut off. Since his head has drunk the nectar, it became alive while his body fell down to earth. And then Daityas have realized the con act done by Vishnu, and by that time the whole nectar was over. It was distributed among the Devas, and Devas have become immortal, and in the ensuing battle, Devas defeated the Daityas. Namaste Sharada Devi, Kashmira Puravasini, Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam, Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye. Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. उत्तरं यत् समुद्रस्य हिमाद्रेश्चैव दक्षिणं वर्षं तद् भारतं नाम भारतीयत्र सन्ततिः Welcome to all for this session on Skanda Purana to into its Maheshwara Khanda and in that the Kedar Khanda to the chapter 13. In the previous chapters, we have seen the story of curling the Milky Ocean, where the or where they used Mandaragiri as the using Mandaragiri as the churning rod and Vasuki as a churning rope. Devas and Daithyas together churned the Milky Ocean, and from the Milky Ocean they got the nectar. And once, when the nectar, the pot of nectar is available in the hands of Dhanvantari, Daityas have immediately snatched it and took it away to Patala. Then Mahavishnu took the shape of Mohini and took the form of Mohini, and then he cheated the Asuras and distributed all the nectar to the Devas. And then a fight happened between Devas and Asuras. Lomasha the Suta continued the story. Then those Asuras roared at the Suras, the chief among whom was Indra, and whose strength and valor was great. They challenged them for a fight. The noble souled son of Virochana got into his aerial chariot. He was accompanied by Daityas who were very powerful and who came in various groups with his entire army. He rushed at the Suras in a terrible way. They had assumed their original real forms. They attacked the enemies in thousands. Some of them rode on tigers and others on buffaloes. Some of them rode on horses, others on elephants, while some others rode on lions, panthers, sharabhas, peacocks, royal swans, cocks, horses, elephants, camels, mules, and asses. Some drove in carts. Many Daityas came on foot with swords, javelins, and daggers in their hands. There were demons with iron bars as weapons. Others had nooses, javelins, and iron clubs in their hands. Some had thin bladed swords. Others had Bushundi and iron bolts as their weapons. Others came on horses, chariots, and elephants and began to strike. Thousands of Asuras, the chief among whom was Bali, rode on aerial chariots. They vied with one another, roaring frequently. Vrishaparva, the king of Daityas, then said to Bali, the leading Daitya, O mighty one, an alliance was entered into with Indra by you. One should not place too much of faith in an evil minded person. By no means should one trust and enter into an alliance with a base person, even if one happens to be weak and inferior. Friendship must be formed with an intelligent person. In case of emergency, assuming that he will going to help us to make a mishap ineffective. One must not believe in a person who has been an enemy previously. It is because of you, O Bali, that we have been defeated now. Why should those chronic rogues not try to undo what has been agreed upon? Those sturdy asuras who could not be thwarted and were desirous of fighting said thus and arrayed themselves suitably. They adorned the battlefield with banners, umbrellas, and flags. They covered all the quarters with chowries. The battlefield was completely covered up. Similarly, all suras were also eager to fight with the Daityas, those persons of exalted fortune drank the nectar, put on the coats of mail, and got on their respective vehicles. Mahendra, the valorous one with Vajra, the thunderbolt in his hand, rode on his elephant. The sun was seated on Uchchaishravasa and the moon rode on a deer. They were equipped with umbrellas and chauris. They were rendered splendid by the martial glory born of victory, desirous of victory. All those persons, beginning with Indra, bowed down to Vishnu. Permitted by Vishnu, they angrily rushed at Asuras, Asuras of huge body, terrible eyes, and dreadful exploits, withstood the fight of Devas with Danavas was very terrible, tumultuous, and exceedingly dreadful, instilling fear into all living beings. Arrows were continuously showered. Everything became excessively wonderful. The rough and harsh noise like kata 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 reverberated in all the 10 directions. Within a moment, they were wounded by arrows, struck and hurt by arrows, iron clubs, javelins, and iron tipped missiles. They fell on the ground. Even as they were being split and pierced, they split and tore others in the battle. They were shattered with Allah arrows and smashed to pieces by narakas, which are iron tipped arrows. Some of the Daityas, Danavas, and Rakshasas were hit with many kshupras, which are arrows with horse shaped tips, and they appear to be torn with them. Some Danavas were shattered and killed by Shilimukhas, which are sharp pointed arrows. So on seeing the army of Danavas broken up thus, Devas roared and moved all around. Delighted, they assembled together and celebrated the victory they had gained. The three worlds were filled with the sounds of conchs and musical instruments. Danavas of great strength became furious with Devas. Bali and all the other rose up once again with great excitement. They were equipped with many aerial chariots resembling the sun. With this desire to conquer each other, Devas and Danavas engaged themselves in tumultuous duels. Mahendra fought with Bali, the lord of Danavas. Similarly, Yama of great and powerful arms met Namuchi in the combat. Nairarata fought with Prakasha, Varuna clashed with Kumbha, Sadaraya means wind god fought with Nikumbha, Rahu fought a very terrible combat with Soma the moon, Amrita nectar rising from the body of the moon was imbibed by Rahu due to the contact with nectar like Rahu rose up, because if you remember in the past, while God Vishnu was distributing the nectar among the Devas, Rahu came in the guise of the Devas and consumed it, while Vishnu cut off his head and let Amrita remain only within his head. All these things were seen by Shambhu, the great Lord. There is no doubt about this, that I am the base and support of all living beings. I am affectionate and dear to all, Asuras as well as Suras. On being told thus, Rahu bowed down to Shiva. The moon stationed on his crest discharged nectar out of fear. On account of it, many such heads were produced simultaneously. Shambhu made them into a beautiful garland and tied it to his head like a decorative head ornament. By swallowing Kalakuta for the purpose of accomplishing the objective of Devas, he became blue throated with a garland of skulls thus made. Maheshwara wore the garland of skulls. By means of that garland shone the noble souled Hara, the primordial lord of Devas, the destroyer of Tripura. He is the lord by whom the great demon Gaja was struck down and the huge Andaka, demon Andaka, was reduced to dust. It was Shiva by whom Ganga was held in the middle of his head. He, the dispeller of fear, kept the moon on his crest. Vedas, Puranas, Agamas, different kinds of Shrutis and scriptures argue and discuss very variously in accordance with difference in their respective texts. In the course of their discussion, they become dumb. Shiva, the sole friend of the universe, is being investigated and described differently according to the opinion of the preceptors of different agamas. Abandoning the eternal Lord Shiva, the supreme spirit that could be comprehended only through the Vedas, deluded people commit blunders. They do not realize Shiva of the form of great spirit. Shiva is the Paramatma or the supreme soul by whom everything is created and sustained. He pervades everything and evolves everything. The entire universe is a part of this Lord. He may perhaps be comprehended through the Vedanta. Person always engaged in devotion to Shiva is undoubtedly Shiva, whether he is rich or poor, noble or base. If a person becomes delighted on seeing the splendid worship of Shiva performed by others, he gets a gift equal to his whatever worshipping that he had done. People should offer rows of lambs in the months of Kartika with great faith. A devotee who offers lambs thus is honored in heaven for as many thousands of yugas as the number of hours during which those lamps burn in front of the linga. If the lamps were with safflower oil are offered in the temple of Shiva, who those who offer them rejoice in Kailasa in the presence of Shiva. If the lamps with linseed oil are offered in the temple of Shiva, those who offer them rejoice in Kailasa in the presence of Shiva. As a result of the offering of lambs, people become gnanis, endowed with perfect knowledge. If the lambs with gingerly oil are offered in the temple of Shiva, they go to the Shiva in the company of 100 members of their family. Those by whom lamps are filled with ghee and lit in the temple of Shiva go to the highest abode in the company of 100,000 members of own family. Those who worship Shiva always with camphor, aloe, and incense, and those who perform the rite of waving lights every day along with camphor, attain Sayujya means the salvation and alone identity with the divinity. There is no doubt about it. Those who worship the linga alone, linga once, twice, or thrice in a day, with care, will become Rudra themselves. There is no doubt about it. If the devotee wear Rudraksha beads at the time of the worship of Shiva, when charitable gifts are offered, when penance is performed in the holy spots and during festive occasions with care, their merit is infinite. O Brahmanas, listen, O excellent Brahmanas, to what Shiva has said about Rudraksha beads. There are Rudrakshas with one face, two faces, etc., up to 16 faces. Among these, two should be known as the most excellent ones, O Brahmanas. They are five faced Rudraksha and the single faced Rudraksha. Those men who always wear the single faced Rudraksha go to the world of Rudra and rejoice in the presence of Rudra. Japa, penance, holy rites, yogic practice, holy bath, charitable gift, worship, etc. If these splendid rites are performed while wearing Rudraksha beads, these rites these rites yield infinite results. If a Rudraksha bead is tied around the neck of even a dog, it will be redeemed thereby. There is no doubt about it. Due to the association of Rudraksha bead, one's sin will be destroyed. Knowing this, one should perform auspicious rites after wearing a Rudraksha bead. If the devotee have Tripundra, the three horizontal parallel lines on the forehead, marked with vibhuti or the sacred ash, sanctified by mantras, they will undoubtedly become Rudras and rejoice in the world of Rudra. The dung of tawny colored cow should be gathered before it touches the ground. It must be dried and burned by the devotees of Shiva for preparing vibhuti. It is called vibhuti. It destroys all sins. At the outset, a single line should be drawn carefully with the thumb on the forehead. Then two lines should be drawn, one above and one below the previous line by means of two fingers, avoiding the middle finger. If the three lines are clearly visible on the forehead, that person is a devotee of Shiva. He should be known as the destroyer of sins by mere sight like Shiva. Those devotees of Shiva who keep matted hair keep 5, 7, and 9 such clusters. Those who do so in accordance with the injunctions in the Shaiva treatises do attain Shiva. There is no doubt about this. Rudraksha beads should be worn particularly by Shiva's devotees. Sadashiva can be worshipped with a very little quantity of material or with profusely rich material. The devotee redeems thereby 10 million members of his family and rejoices with Shiva. Hence, O excellent Brahmanas, there is nothing greater than Shiva. When this is told in the scripture, everything has Shiva for its cause. Indeed, Shiva is the bestower of the worlds. He is the maker of the worlds. He rejoices along with his devotees. Know, O excellent Brahmanas, that the whole universe consists of both Shiva and Shakti. The two syllabled name Shiva receives one from very great danger. Hence, O excellent Brahmanas, let Shiva be contemplated upon and remembered. Sages then asked the question to the Suta Mahamuni. The greatness of Somanatha has been understood. It was due to his grace that all were saved from the fear of the heads of Rahu from Parameshti. Suras, beginning with Indra and others, were saved by the Lord in that dreadful battle. Thereafter, what did all those Suras do? Let it be narrated. Everything about the greatness of Shiva is as narrated by you was heard directly while you uttered by you orally. Let the narration of the battle be made exactly as it happened. Lomasha then continued, when Suras were defeated by Daityas, all of them sought refuge in Shambhu. The excellent Suras bowed down to Shiva. All of them immediately decided to fight. Similarly, all Daityas who were very powerful and enthusiastic began to fight. Equipped with great missiles, they came into contact with Devas and fought again and again. Thus, all Suras and Asuras who were desirous of victory and who were exceedingly furious fought with one another with javelins, swords, spears, iron bars, and axes. Being struck down and hit by Suras with many great arrows and missiles, combined with one another, Asuras, indomitable, fell down in the same manner as lions falling into Ganga. They made the entire earth muddy with fresh flesh and blood. They made the entire earth, including oceans, forests, mines, trees, and mountains, full of blood and flesh. Deep rivers of blood lashed and swept heads, headless bodies, great armors, flags, chariots, banners, and heads of elephants and horses. These rivers instilled fear into the minds of cowards. Brahma Rakshasas crossed these bloody rivers and made the other goblins, ghosts, Pramathas, and Rakshasas cross them. There were groups of female devils such as Shakinis and Dakinis and thousands of Yakshinis. Rejoicing in the company of each other, they were engaged in various sports. Thus, in that highly dreadful battle, Devas and Asuras clashed directly with one another. These Bhutas, Pramathas, and Rakshasas continued their sports. Devendra of wonderful exploits fought with Bali. The infuriated son of Virochana struck Devendra with a javelin. Mahendra of quick and nimble steps dodged that javelin. He struck Bali, the lord of Daithyas, with great effort and force. With his great thunderbolt of sharp edges, the valorous lord of Devas cut off Bali's arms. Thereupon he fell down dead on the ground from his aerial chariot resembling the sun. On seeing Bali fallen, Vrishaparva furiously showered Mahendra and his elephant with a volley of arrows like the cloud showering a mountain. Mahendra bore the sharp arrows. Then a terrible battle ensued between Mahendra and Vrishaparva. Indra, the tormentor of the enemy's army, caused Vrishaparva to fall down. Then he killed Danavas in the battle with his great thunderbolt. Some were pierced through the head, some were hit in the neck, some were rendered bewildered and afflicted by the furious Indra. Similarly, Danavas were killed by Yama, Vayu, and Varuna. Others were killed by Kubera and Nirarata. Some were killed by Agni and torn asunder by Isha. Thus, the powerful Asuras of great exploit were killed by Suras and the guardians of the world. It was due to the favor of Shiva that they were killed then. Then the great and excellent Daitya, who was equipped with excellent missiles and weapons, came in to kill the excellent Suras. The evil minded demon, who was very cruel in his heart, advanced alone. Armored and armed with a trident, he rode on a lion surrounded by 100 millions of Daityas, all riding on lions. All those lions of great strength and exploit were equipped with coats of mail. The great Daityas riding on these lions were also equal to them. On seeing the entire army of Daityas that was adorned by lions and led by Kalanemi advancing, the Devas with Indra, their leader, became exceedingly frightened. Then they began to ponder, what shall we all do now? How will we conquer this wonderful and countless army surrounded by lions? When they were thinking thus, Narada happened to come there. The old story of Kalanemi's power of penance was told to Mahendra by Narada. He told him about his invincibility in battle by virtue of power of boons granted to him. O Devas, we are not competent to conquer this army in the battleground without Vishnu's help. Hence, let the great Lord Vishnu, the Lord dark in complexion like the Tamala leaves, the bestower of boons, he remembered by all of you desirous of conquest. On hearing the words of Narada, Devas hurriedly meditated on Mahavishnu, the tormentor of the enemy's army, the supreme soul. Remembering the Lord, they prayed to him thus. Then the Devas prayed him like, obeisance to you, the Lord, the cause of the auspiciousness of the universe, O Srinivasa, abode of Sri. Obeisance to you, O Shripati, the consort of Goddess Lakshmi. Obeisance to you. Today we are exceedingly frightened. We are oppressed by fear of Kalanemi. It behoves you, O Lord, the bestower of freedom from fear or to Devas, to save us from the Daityas. On being meditated and remembered thus the dark complexioned Hari, the bestower of freedom from fear to all the worlds, appeared before them riding on Garuda. The Lord, with the discus in his hand, came there for the victory of Devas. They all saw Mahavishnu seated on Garuda and stationed in the firmament, the invincible Lord Srinivasa, who was desirous of fighting. On seeing the Lord like that, Kalanemi, who was very mighty and highly infuriated, said laughingly, loudly, who are you, O exalted one of great fortune? You are excellent in form and features. You are young and dark complexioned and possess the valor of an elephant in rut. A sharp edged, brilliant discus is held by you in your hand. Why? Let me know, O Lord. Then the Lord said, I came here for the purpose of fighting for the fulfillment of the cause of Devas. Be steady, O stupid one. I shall undoubtedly burn you now. On hearing the words of Lord, the valorous Kalanemi became angry and said to Lord Adhokshaja Vishnu, you are the Lord and root cause of Devas. You are highly proud of your ability to fight. If you are a brave warrior, fight with me now. Lord Mahavishnu of great luster laughed and said, either you be stationed in the sky or I shall be stationed on the earth. Because at that time Vishnu was flying high in the sky on on the neck of Garuda, while Kalanemi was sitting on a lion on the earth. O mighty one, fight either in the sky or on the ground, so that the battle will not be on uneven plains and blameworthy. Saying, so be it, the Daitya of great magnificence, surrounded by 100 million Daityas who were dignified and glorious and seated on lions, who were powerful and ruthless, rose up in the sky slowly. He was accompanied by the groups of Asuras. He was desirous of killing Vishnu, the Lord of cosmic form. He took up another fierce trident with a desire to fight with Hari. His mouth and face had a hideous form due to his curved, ferocious teeth, as well as his desire to send an oral message to his followers. Thus ended chapter 13 of the Kedara Khanda under Maheshwara Khanda in the Skanda Purana. In this, we have heard about the story of how the battle happened between the Daityas and the Devas. And in the end, as Daityas started losing the battle in the hands of Devas, who drank the nectar and became all too powerful, at that time a great demon by name Kalanemi, riding on the lion, rushed at the Devas. And on seeing him, the dejected Devas went and surrendered to Vishnu, so that the Vishnu himself came in order to kill the demon Kalanemi. ನಮಸ್ತೆ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಶಾರದಾ ದೇವಿ ಕಾಶ್ಮೀರಪುರವಾಸಿನಿ ತ್ವಾಮಹಂ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಯೇ ನಿತ್ಯಂ ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನಂಚ ದೇಹಿ ಮೇ. ಗುಡ್ ಬೈ.